Whether you are a man or a woman out there in the jungle that is the dating scene, you may have come across this phenomenon of going on a first date, thinking that it's gone well, and then it just not advancing to a second date. So what's holding you back? What is the reason why that other person is not receptive to the fact that you thought you vibed well and that you would have liked to continue on? I'm here today to help you discern this, to see what it could be that's holding you back from moving forward in your dating life. And I've been doing some research on this from a female perspective and a male perspective to kind of see the things that men are looking for and looking to feel in a first date, and also things that women are hoping to find and to really sense in that first date. Because for women, it definitely is more of a sense check, while for men, they're really trying to see how did you make them feel in that date, and did it feel like an interview? So just a personal anecdote from me, I think that my early 20s, I really approached dating from a place of that kind of attraction and falling in love. And all of the other promises that the rom-com world tells you, these very intense feelings, or maybe some drama, or some very hyper romance, even perhaps falling for someone who may be love bombing you, if you know that term. It's someone who really gives you a lot more attention than is actually appropriate for the stage of dating that you're at. And I would have fallen for all of these when I was in my early 20s. Now this has made me probably potentially too cautious. I've become very, very values driven, so I really want to know very early on if we have the same values, and I think this is off-putting, and I definitely have had a situation where I've been texting someone that I met in real life, which was fun, and then we've been kind of exchanging texts. They get quite long. I'm also a WhatsApp web writer, so I tend to, and I'm also a writer by trade, so I tend to send essays. I try to never be the first person to send an essay, but if someone sends me a long message, I'm like, great, I will go for it, and I will respond accordingly. But sometimes I think I can come across a bit too intense, because I'm really trying to figure out, are we aligned in our vision for life? Are we aligned on things like our socioeconomic vision for the family? Are we aligned on how we'd want to educate the children, on healthcare? I am thinking so many steps ahead that I'm probably coming across a little bit of a psycho, or a fun killer. You can't really get the sense of play. I talk about this sense of play that I really crave in my spouse. And yet that's probably not what's coming across when I'm meeting someone and I'm being like, these are my values and this is my blah, 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 non-negotiables. So I really am humbling myself, and this is definitely a video for myself as well. So the first thing is, do not start by talking about how hard dating is, or that dating sucks, or that it's been really hard to meet anyone, because this is just such a joy killer. Really, what people are looking for is someone who is just full of confidence, joy, and passion. And someone who, of course, they are looking to find their person, but that's not their entire life. That's not the whole thing that they're concentrating and focusing on. So talk about topics that you're really interested in and excited about, because that will be so magnetic to the other person, whether that's a man or a woman. And that really will allow you to show a bit more of yourself, but in a really fun and attractive way. This could be something that you're working on, a passion project or a hobby, or just something that you've been reading about that you're really interested in. People love talking about ideas and about projects and other things that you might be working on. That is just so fun, and obviously fills you with energy and energizes you, and that will energize the conversation. Inherently, you want to get to the point where you are saying something that makes the other person think, oh, I really want to know more. Speaking about that, and this is definitely aimed at the men watching, don't forget to ask questions about the other person, because that is just such a good way to make sure you feel like you're having a real conversation. And this has been something that women have tended to complain about when they're giving feedback about dates, that the man didn't seem interested in them and who they are and what they wanted, because they didn't ask them any questions and they were just talking at them. So please make sure to listen, and to actively listen, so that you're actually continuing the conversation and guiding it, and not just either passively listening or completely dominating the conversation. And speaking about the jadedness of dating, please don't do that. Also, don't talk about your ex relationships or your past boyfriends or girlfriends at this point. The first date is not meant to be for that. You're really trying to get to know the other person. You don't need to get to know their baggage. You do not want to trauma bond with them. And you just don't want to necessarily bring up anything that without context just isn't going to make as much sense and is also going to just bring the tone down. This is a tip probably for women and mostly for myself. So although it is amazing to have that clear vision of what you want and desire for your life, whether that is, a suburban life with children where you're homeschooling them, or living in the city and starting a family business and generational wealth, or whatever it is, this is actually not a discussion for the first date. And this can be really tempting because you just want to put all your cards on the table and you just want to say, hey, this is really the vision I see for my life. But this is going to make the other person just feel like a placeholder, like they are just the husband or the wife that you're waiting to enter into this built life that you've created. And also that doesn't give any grace for God's plan and for the fact that yes, we make our plans, but it is ultimately God who establishes our steps. And I'm pretty sure God may surprise us, may surprise some of us. Of course, it is really good for us to have a knowledge and self-knowledge of what we want, what we desire, and our ideal and perfect vision for family life. But we're not living in an ideal or perfect world, so that does need to be flexible. And at this stage, date one, you do not need to talk about this huge vision and to, see if this person's going to slot in, because they want to know you and they want you to know them. They don't want to just feel like, yeah, exactly, like this placeholder that's just going to enter into your life and fit perfectly into the plan. Now, this is a trickier one to talk about, but men, if you've had really good conversation with a woman, you may read that as a really good sign. And I'm not saying it's a bad sign by any means, but the one thing is that if you meet someone who's very socially apt, very personable, very sparky, very charismatic themselves, it's probably the case that that woman could, or man, also on the flip side of this, could have a good conversation with just about anyone. I remember the best compliment anyone ever gave to me was, you could probably talk to like a door handle. Like, I think it was hopefully meant in kindness and positivity that I've got good conversational skills, but that can sometimes fool people into thinking that they've got a really good connection that's personal, when it might just be that the other person's a good conversationalist. So there may be that there needs to be more than just responding to that. And ultimately people are trying to see how they feel, like how you make them feel. So ladies, gentlemen, how is it that you're presenting on a first date? And no, I don't want this to sound like a job interview, because the last thing you want to do is actually interview the person. That is not what you want to do. In fact, you want to bring a spirit of like lightness, playful, kind of like a holiday style energy. When you go on holiday, you're just so relaxed, right? There are so many studies that show people who have like gluten intolerances in their everyday life can go to Italy and eat all the pasta they want. And of course, that may also be due with like the wheat practices and the agriculture in other countries, but mainly it's because when we're on holiday, we're so relaxed that our body, our cortisol levels are just like dormant, so we can actually get away with so much more. And I think you have to bring this kind of holiday energy to a first date. Like, there is no pressure. You're just enjoying time with a new person, getting to know them. Like, when you've not met someone before, it's so exciting because you are so curious. You know nothing about them, so you have everything to learn about them. So bring this kind of holiday energy, like you're going to France for the first time. You don't know anything about France. You are just so looking forward to being surprised and seeing what France has to offer you, right? And you're very much looking forward to the croissants and all the other delicacies. That's what it should feel like to be on a date. You should be curious, you should be open, and you should be receptive to learning and wanting to know more. And women, I heard recently from a matchmaker who said that really the kind of qualities that we should be bringing to a first date is warmth and kindness, femininity, appreciation, gratitude, and respect. So actually there's a really interesting scientific study that shows that men actually get like a hike of testosterone when they pay for the bill. So if a man does want to treat you, then you should let him. That's a really lovely thing to do. And I know different people are going to have different opinions on this. I'm very much of the opinion that It should be the man who asks you out for the date, and it should always be the person who asks you out who pays for the date. Ergo, I do think that it's really lovely to allow the man to pay, especially if he has asked you, because it's that kind of like provide and protect mentality, and there's something very masculine about it. And then learning that obviously that actually does hike up the testosterone is kind of quite cool to see that it works in lines with hormones and just that femininity, masculinity polarity. And of course, this should come with an air of gratitude. As I said, you know, it's really lovely if someone's chosen where you're going to go, you know, really do take the time to say thank you so much for picking this place, or thank you so much for arranging this, or thank you so much for picking up the check, or whatever it is. I think it's really important that we bring manners to our first date, well, to every single interaction in life, but especially that first date, because, you know, you want to make a good impression, and it's important to be grateful that someone has put themselves out there to ask you or to book somewhere, and they've thought about you in advance, which is really lovely. Here's a hot take as well. Women, it really doesn't actually matter how hot you are. The man will remember how you've made him feel. They're not actually going to remember what you looked like. Of course, men are visual creatures, and I understand that that is very much like the opening attraction and maybe the reason why they've asked you in the first place. But research really shows that men want to feel, you know, liked and appreciated and respected. So actually something that you can do, a really good trick, not only to drop the hanky, but to really show that recognition that you do like him and you're vibing with him, is to compliment him. Men actually rarely get compliments. Like us women, we're always like, oh, we love your dress, we like your hair, oh, where are your shoes from, they're really cute. But men don't talk to each other that same way. So complimenting a man is also really effective and impactful when you're trying to signal to them that you like them. It's also important to recognize the suitability of what you should bring up on that first date. So there's a level of vulnerability, authenticity, and even history that you just shouldn't really broach on that first interaction together. If you struggle to know what to talk about on a first date that isn't like super deep, and I get that because I'm terrible at small talk actually, so I just straight away want to go into the deep topics, you can write out beforehand like level of things you love talking about, and then kind of figuring out, okay, how vulnerable and how intense is this? But in general, first date topics that are easy, they're fun, and they're lighthearted. They might include things like travel, music, pets, things you're excited about, hobbies, and of course you're probably going to talk about, you know, what you're doing in your everyday, your work and things, but also bringing some of this lightheartedness to it too. Because no one wants that first date to feel like a therapy session, so please do not use them for therapy. And although it might be normal that you're feeling a bit nervous or a bit insecure, underconfident, like try to really quash those feelings and to be mindful, to be present in the moment, like really sit with them and give them that full hour if it's a coffee, or that 2 hours if it's dinner, whatever it is, you know, really try to be present there. And that's really difficult in our digital age in general, but it's a real gift you can give, especially to someone you're meeting for the first time. And this might be controversial, but do think about what you're wearing. So for women, sometimes we can dress for other women, and some things men just don't understand. So like I love a proper like puffy sleeve, like a dramatic sleeve, right? So I love a dress with just like a crazy puffy sleeve, princess sleeve, whatever. I know you women know what I'm talking about. And men don't really get that. So it might be a bit like, oh, so I'd say for women, like simplify it, you know, just wear something very simple. Apparently red is really good to wear on a first date for whatever color psychology reasons that is. And men, women are looking to see that you can look after yourself. So please do not wear dirty shoes or like sportswear if you're going for dinner. You know, try to be situationally appropriate when it comes to your dress. So if you're going for dinner, dress up a little bit more. If you're going for coffee, yes, you can be more casual, but keep it nice and clean. And on a side note, I'm actually going to be talking to a stylist soon for this channel about the best things to wear on a date for men and for women, for us to be our most confident and also to be received and to present ourselves well. So women, while you probably are looking for long-term compatibility, you want to know everything from their political views to how they want to raise their children, this may be a little bit too intense for the first date. Because men are really trying to see how they feel around you. Are you warm? Are you feminine? Are you playful? That's what they're trying to vibe from you. So a good in-between on that first date is to really bring that playful and, like I call it, holiday style energy, and leave the deeper conversations for when you know if you've got that initial attraction and that initial connection. And then by, date 3, 4, 5, you can start talking about some of the bigger things. But really right now, just see that person, as a creature made by God, who is inherently valuable and inherently amazing and, imbued with dignity, and treat them as such. They are not meant to be a placeholder that is just going to slip in because you need a spouse, because you want to start a family. This is a person, a soul, an immortal soul, which is really special. So do treat them as such, and enter that first date with curiosity and appreciation for the other person. Okay, well, I would love to hear if you guys have any other first date tips as to why maybe we aren't getting through to that second date, or what could help to improve that success rate. And as always, I'll speak to you soon. Okay, God bless.